So to bring it back to Libya, your point's taken about the prevention of genocide and all that, but I'm highly skeptical of our efforts in Libya right now, basically because we have the situation where the most advanced air force in the world is acting as a force multiplier for a bunch of guys in berets and tracksuits riding their Hondas towards, Misrata, as brave as they might be. But what isn't clear is that the rebels have the kind of ability to sort of retain large-scale control of Libya after we leave. So is it possible, do you think it's likely, we could be setting up a kind of situation where we'd have waves of recrimination and killings afterwards?
You know, and I'm not gonna pretend here. This is a this is a huge question mark. No sense at all of who they are, what they will do, how they will do it, for whom will they do it. The only constant is everybody hates Gaddafi, and that's easy enough to do. I mean, the guy's a certified nut. I mean, that's been there for years, and he's angered a lot of people, especially his fellow Arab leaders. I mean, can you imagine fellow dictators hating you? I mean, the Democrats should hate you, but other dictators, I mean, you're one of them. They hate him with a passion. He's embarrassed them. He's attempted to assassinate them, try to assassinate the king of Saudi Arabia when he was crown prince. So, I mean, except for, I guess, for Chavez in Venezuela, I don't think he has any friends anywhere. Maybe that's the only place he could go is Venezuela. So I think that's the so-called unifying factor, which implied in your statement and question is it's not a very good reason. You know, if that's it, not knowing who these rebels are, not knowing what they stand for, not knowing what they intend to do if they achieve power, those are a lot of serious, unless there are things happening that we don't know. You know, maybe there's discussions going on at levels that has not yet been made public. I mean, we'd like to think that. So, you know, I suspect this is a kind of multi-layered process. Those who are doing the fighting, those who are doing the negotiating, those who are on the fence, and, you know, and this is a game of chess, and that's being played out by all parties. And Libyans are savvy people. Don't think they're a bunch of nomads. They're smart, they're savvy, they're educated. Aren't you surprised how many people speak English? You know, the mic goes in some, you know, nice British accents. So that's the other side in the balance, but I really don't have an answer.
Hey, quick question. Thank you very much. That was awesome. What do you think of Egypt?
Yeah.
What's your analysis of Egypt?
You know, I think Egypt is absolutely awesome. I mean, both as a historian of Egypt, I'm a political scientist, but I've studied a lot of Egyptian history. And I went to Egypt. I'm in this field because of Egypt. I got money from the US government to go study Arabic in Cairo. I was like 24 years old. I had nothing else to do. So, hey, here's some money, go study Arabic. Okay. This was Nasser was in power. Hitler on the Nile, as he was called. It was wonderful. There were no tourists. There were nobody there, just Egyptians and us. There was 20 of us. The people are absolutely fantastic. The civilization. I mean, what is there not to like? Oh, all right. So, and you know, it got messed up. Nasser messed it up badly. Let's face it. He had good intentions. And at least he wasn't Ben Ali, he wasn't Mubarak, he wasn't a, you know, I mean, I was there I was there for his funeral, which any of you have ever seen photographs or films of that. One of the most moving moments in the history of mankind. Millions and millions of people, tears with that man. And this is after he lost the Six-Day War, after Egypt was humiliated, after the Arabs were totally, you know, destroyed. So I think the problem has been they've just been unlucky with leaders. There's some good people. I mean, you go back throughout history, whether it's Qasim Amin as literary figures or Saad Zaghloul as a politician. I mean, there are a lot of really talented, brilliant people. And the leadership has really been bad. And you know why? Because they've come out of the military. And I hope I'm not insulting. That's their military, not the American military. American military is good. But they're dependent too much for their leadership on the military. And they have such a brilliant judicial, legal, educational categories of people who have traveled throughout the Arab world. When I was teaching in Egypt, in Algeria, almost all the teachers were Egyptian. All of them were Egyptian. So I'm very hopeful. I'm hoping that the right kind of leaders, come to power, and I hope the military just goes back to the barracks and stays there.
Given what we think is probably a very heavy military role behind the scenes, and a peculiar and poorly understood role of the military right now with what's going on, juxtaposed with the other kind of distinctive aspect of the Egyptian revolution, namely the very mobilized, the particularly mobilized social media elite, and the particular, the idea that there might have been nonviolent strategy percolating behind the scenes. How do you sort of unpack that very obscure juxtaposition now?
No, you're absolutely right. I'm very familiar with the Algerian military, and I can tell you, most countries have, armies. Algeria's army has a state. So it's not that bad in Egypt yet. But part of the problem lies in our relationship with it. Because if the Egyptian-Israel peace treaty is central to our policy in the Middle East, which it is, and Egypt, controls the Suez Canal and down at the Bab el-Mandeb and so forth, the military, and we give them $1.3 billion a year and so forth, they have leverage. And it's a kind of leverage that we support. And unfortunately, it may have political ramifications. That's not the case in Tunisia. So Tunisia the military can't play that role. And that's the only negative part that I'm worried about it, because I'm totally convinced about the ability of Egyptians to govern themselves and govern themselves well. But I think the military has these resources and advantages of which we are very much part of, which even if we don't directly support such an effort of politicization, they will imply it for themselves. And that, I think, is dangerous for the Egyptian experiment. Thank you very much. Thank you.